This story is originally from Felix Timmermann, but I changed it a little bit and brought it in nowadays structures. This is a historical story from back in the day prior to the spread of humans, a time when the landscape had no monoculture and wasn't covered in concrete and asphalt, when the forest had not yet been turned into money-generating woodlands. I am Päro, and now you can learn from this story a whole lot about. The large forest dwellers were mad at each other and made each other's life difficult with their spite. They were told that competition stimulates business and that only the strongest survive. Oh well, they conceded, that's what people say, and they are so arrogant about their knowledge. However, the dwellers just accepted the statements, no questions asked. There must be something right about it, they thought as they began fighting over one another's territories. They frequently complained about the ongoing situation with the neighbors and stopped sleeping altogether because they were afraid of being attacked by someone in their own territory. They roamed around all day in a horrible mood. The fox had been analyzing the behavior for a while and noticed that it was taking a toll on them, and it only resulted in pressure and trouble. He wasn't very much affected by it because he was the smartest of them all and got the most out of the situations. They were even more astonished when he showed up in front of them and invited them into his castle. Once inside the castle, he says, "Are you insane? We are doing everything on our own and everyone has their own wounds to take care of. We are certainly not going to crawl around the small dwellers and let them reign over us. These smart people are messing with your head. They have already figured out that it's fundamentally wrong to be egoistical and to only think about one's own benefits. I read in the newspaper the other day that Ole Peters, who worked at the mathematical laboratory in London, proved that it's fundamentally wrong to think that competition is key. You can accomplish much more working together than working against each other. And there is an actual formula for this. We weren't aware that you are such an intelligent critter, they admitted, and that you even have the time to read newspaper with all your obligations you have. The fox replies, well, it's actually not that new because deep inside you feel it all along. So far, so good. For mutual security, they signed a contract to ensure eternal peace with the conceited ones, to ensure that everyone can hunt wherever they want, and to ensure that competitive gossip would be non-existent. And if anyone dares to do otherwise, he should be chewed to death immediately. It was easy to keep the peace because everyone had a different taste. You can't even call it a conspiracy either because it was easy to spot what's going on. And now you know why it is called Woodfox, because the big dwellers went wild in the woods while the fox found a way to keep the conceited dwellers contained due to their mutual beneficial advantages. The little ones, shaking from fear, weren't noticing much of the advantages. On the third anniversary of the peace treaty, the big dwellers celebrated a big feast at Malipartus, the newly renovated castle of the fox. You could hear them celebrate almost all night long. The little ones took the chance to roam around freely without any fear. They enjoyed not being stressed or in constant fear. They visited each other to talk about the latest miseries or to cheer one another up. Others used the chance to stock up for the winter. A young rabbit who has lost many siblings and other relatives sat in his den and enjoyed the silence on the field. Then, all of a sudden, he was in the mood to listen to a nightingale who sat and sang in a nearby hazelnut tree. He was almost about to dance when he heard a voice coming from the lime wood. "Nice to meet you. Are you enjoying your meal?" As you can see, Mr. Squirrel was up. "Nothing much. It's a pretty wild party going on at Fox's castle." "Yes, I noticed. Otherwise I couldn't peacefully sit here, nutcracker. You know, nowadays not fun for a rabbit to hop around the world." "The dwellers have to overdo it with the celebrations," says a passing bird. "Yesterday they brought the ducks and mice to the castle in wheelbarrows and made sure they had full pots of the beers. They ended up getting so fat that they could barely move, and yet they continued frying and cooking. They brought more cups of blood and—" "Oh, stop it!" the rabbit complains. "You are running my appetite." "Too bad there are no trees around the castle that I could see to climb up and watch what they are doing." "Listen, acorn brother, if I were as good at climbing as you are, I would conquer the wall and observe." "I would do that too," says the squirrel, "if I were as fast as you." "My legs are that long due to the fear," the rabbit says, intimidated. "Listen," the squirrel responds, "I have an idea. We could combine our skills and get a look at the dwellers. We would just have to work together." "What do you suggest?" asks the rabbit. "Well, it's easy. We can walk up there together. I climb up the wall and you use my tail to hang on. That way we can both watch them. It's a great view from up there and we can watch them comfortably. And with the combination of the darkness outside and the light from inside the castle, they won't be able to spot us." "But if they catch us after all?" asks the scared cat. "They won't do anything to us," jiggles the squirrel, "because they are all drunk. And in case something goes wrong, I'll jump on your back, spread my tail like a sail in the wind, and we'll fly up into the clouds." The rabbit thinks, one thing is obvious. This show-off is definitely not very well versed in physics. But he says, "I don't dare, but I would love to watch this fine society." The squirrel won't stop nagging, so the rabbit ends up agreeing, and side by side they hop into the horizon. The castle Malipatus was surrounded by a wall made of big stones and a wide ditch filled with smelly mud. The smell of the mud was unbearable, and one already knew where it was coming from. A little further there was a movable bridge which hadn't been pulled up for thousands of days because there was no war and it was the only entrance to the castle. From the open window you could hear songs and laughter. Defiantly, the squirrel pulls the rabbit over the bridge through the entrance. He looks down at the deep ditch and the squirrel whispers, "If you fall into the ditch, my dear, it's game over. This is the sort of muddy water where even the pike suffocates." The rabbit was about to die because of the fear that overcame him, but he was too shy to argue. The door closes firmly and the squirrel says, "You will hold on to my tail, and if we fall, we'll land on the bridge. No need to be scared." He climbs up the wall with his last bit of strength, and the rabbit follows him. Once they reach the top, their eyes opened wide as they finally got to witness the party, which was lit up by torches. The whole crew is sitting together. The fox and his company get a fat goose serve, the wolf devours a leg of a ram, the bear spreads honey on a piece of meat, and the cat passes the time with a breath of mice. And of course, everyone has brought their relatives. Some of them play with the bones of the animals. All of a sudden, the wolf gets up and starts a toast. "Okay, our friendship has existed for an impressive 3 years. Due to mutual sacrifice, we have managed to do the longest period of time without war since the development of the denture," he says while showing his dangerous teeth. And that's a reason to celebrate. This should be celebrated accordingly. Because of that, I have invited all of you to come join me next Friday in my castle in the woods. They bang their glasses together and sing their songs. Did you see it, says the squirrel, these disrespectful ideas? How they just sit there stuffing their faces and drinking too much. Yes, I noticed, says the rabbit, but now let's go home. I don't want to listen to that any longer, and my knees are getting weak. Yes, wait, says the master of the climb. I want to spoil their food, so once they eat it, everyone's face will drop to the disgust. And he starts to throw some pebbles he found on the walls through the window into the room. One lands directly in the wolf's glass. It breaks and there is broken glass everywhere. I think it's about time we get out of here, says the squirrel as it jumps on the bridge and leaves. The rabbit, on the other hand, is so scared to death and is just standing there on its hind legs, not moving an inch. That's totally unlike him. All the animals in the castle ran screaming and running to the window, where they could see the petrified rabbit on the wall. The rabbit just studied their shocked faces, the flashing teeth, the blooded mouths, and the threatening red eyes. Well, look who we got there, the fox exclaimed. I must be dreaming. You break my window, insult my guests, and still have the gut to just sit here and not even try to escape. You won't make a fool of us and disturb our feast. You can't seriously think that out of all the day you could provoke us, it would be today. You seriously want us to chase you and your clan away. Yeah, you would enjoy that, but not today, rabbit. Tomorrow will be a different story. Each and every one of you rabbits will not survive tomorrow. That was shocking statement. The rabbit falls backwards onto his paws and runs away as fast as his little legs can carry him. Once he passes the squirrel, it shouts, "Calm down, no one will chase you today because they're all way too full to run." That might be the case, cries the scared animal, but screw it. You got me in such much trouble. Tomorrow all of us are going to kick the bucket. Wee, wee, says the squirrel. That doesn't sound too good. No, it sure doesn't. The fox threatened total extermination. Bollocks! I'm so sorry about that. Let me think. The rabbit digs out the last remaining English knowledge and says in an absent voice, I'm not amused. I'm really not amused. The queen must have picked up that somehow, and he says in pretty good English mood, your squirrels must be the craziest creatures on earth, based on the motto, the world is perishing nobly. While he is complaining, the squirrel replies in Greek, Heureka! Now I know. We are going to everyone that can saw, file or nibble. Everyone must come. If my idea works out, we will teach these rude dwellers up there a lesson which they will never forget. What do you mean? How is that supposed to work? Says the rabbit, both relieved and curious. You will see. Hurry up. And with the squirrel on its back holding on to the rabbit's ears, they run over fields, bushes, past fruit trees, meadows and alleys. They ran around the lake into the woods, basically the way they just came out. Well, all of this still existed back then. They knock on the houses of beavers, rats, mice, and let them know that they must come and join forces to once and for all defeat the big dwellers. Little attention is paid to how the communication is received. All they do is tell them that they need to meet at the bridge to chew on the wood. For the ones that don't understand, the multilingual rabbit adds, to be or not to be, that will be the question tomorrow. That left a big impression, and even Shakespeare picked up on it later on. The squirrel runs around and says, you only have to do what I say, the rest is my problem. Not even 1 hour later, you can see legions of rats, mice, beavers and rabbits arise on the horizon on their way to the castle Malipartus. Everyone that can saw, file and nibble. Inside the castle they stopped drinking because all of them were drunk. The only thing they did was singing from the bottom of their lungs. The squirrel shows the nocturnal animals the bridge and says, all you have to do now is to saw, file, nibble and destroy the bridge. When the first batch is tired, the next group will take over the next shift. That doesn't need to be said twice, as a bunch of them start eating their way through the bridge, side by side, bite after bite. With the ongoing noise inside the castle, they don't even notice what's going on outside. All of a sudden the squirrel says, stop, is enough, we don't want the bridge to collapse. Let's hide us in the bushes. What you will see next will be hilarious. And you, Bugs Bunny, come with me to the wall. Of course, the rabbit was wobbly knees, but it is what it is. This is important now. They must be furious, and you must take them come out. The squirrel says and climbs up the wall. Sit upright and like you did last time, but make sure you jump off at the right time. The rabbit gets into his position on the wall, while the squirrel throws one stone after the next into the castle. Crack, boing, crash, and all the plates and glasses are broken. The bullets hit the fox straight on his nose, the bear in its mouth, and the wolf into the eye. And again they see the rabbit sitting on the wall. What on earth? Are you serious? Growled the dwellers. We are going to the end. Your life tonight. They ran down the staircases and screamed like maniacs when they got out of the building. It's time to back up a little bit, the squirrel shouts. Both hop over the bridge onto some branches of a nearby tree. The door flies open, the rabbit waves at them, all nasty, and the dwellers rumble on the bridge. Shortly after, the bridge breaks in two, and a lot of them fall into the thick mud. There is no hope or escape out of it. They scream their lungs out, but the ditch won't release anyone once caught. After 15 minutes, they scampered off, and all that's left of them is their tail peeking out of the mud. The little dwellers climb out of their hideaways and start to dance and sing. We are the champions, my friend. A runner passes the scene, and middle of the night must have picked up that, and he must have told later someone at a tournament. It's a well-known fact that they were the precursors of our sportsmen and sportswomen today. After they calmed down a little bit, the squirrel starts explaining how the story really went down and finishes the story by saying, you know that you must thank the rabbit for your freedom because he stayed on the wall, scared to death. At this point, the short story of Felix Timmermann, from which I copied the basic idea, this story ends, but it did continue back then. Some of the big animals that started under the gate and didn't die sobered up and shouted, are you going to watch us to die down here? And the others howled, we can't get out. The squirrel replies, your treatment took such a toll on us that we want to get rid of you. Oh, well, we understand. It didn't go as planned, didn't it? Says the wolf. Not as planned. It was a threat to our existence. The rabbit is still shivering. Seeing him like this makes us regret on behavior, says the fox. Maybe we can find a way to coexist after all. We will tell you an interesting story the day after tomorrow. That way we can sober up completely, and you can take the chance to celebrate. We shall meet up here again. The little ones consult for a quick second and agree. The rats were very noisy and wanted to hear the story. When they meet back at the broken bridge, the big ones start. Nothing important happened. In this case, our existence would be endangered like yours. God was amused that he got us all at once. The fox, as the small animal, he is asked again, if you want to be better than us and not just think about our death, you must talk to us. We admit that it can't continue the way it is now. It's natural law that we depend on you to survive. We don't have to overdo it though and burn down buildings. We rather just want to have the bare necessities. So now let's tend to the story. You must know that once we harmed each other and caused great damage. All the stress and troubles kept us from sleeping. No one has survived the 3rd year. A contract which was created by me helped us to get along. That was close to genius. What do you think? Should we make a contract as well? The little ones withdraw and discuss. They come back out and let the squirrel align. If it is a fair contract, we will agree. And what about compensation for the derailment of yours? We can set something up, says the fox. We will respect you. We will only hunt once a week. We'll leave you with your dens to spend the winter. We'll leave you alone when we are not hungry anymore. We won't kill your flowers and destroy the meadows, and we will forever be grateful to you for saving us. And if you want to complain about something, the bear will be the referee. He decided that he doesn't need a rabbit every day. He rather eats herbs, roots, nuts, fishes, honey, corn, and in the near future, bits and pieces of leftover pizza. Therefore, he doesn't depend on you guys anymore. And the best at last, the contract also applies to the birds and reptiles. The little ones liked the draft, and so they signed the contract and shook. Just the bear growls, God damn it, now I'm dealing with all the responsibility. I just wanted to have my desired peace and quiet. And on top of that, there is a moral of the story. If you want to achieve something important, you must get together and help each other.